Hello, my name is Olesa Sloboda, and I am an archival consultant here at Oseredok, currently working with the Jacob Majdanik's collection. Joining me today, I have two Ukrainian dancers from the Rusalka Ukrainian Dance Ensemble, Myron Tarasiuk and Markian Tarasiuk. Myron Tarasiuk taught in the Ukrainian English bilingual program in the Seven Oaks School Division at R.F. Morrison School, an alumnus of Rusalka Ukrainian Dance Ensemble and one of the original members. Was a dancer, instructor, choreographer, artistic director, and board member of Rusalka, and a contributor and project manager of the book Rusalka, The Legend and the Legacy, published in 2019. Presently involved in organizing and cataloging Rusalka's archives at the Ukrainian Cultural and Educational Center. Markian Tarasiuk is an actor, producer, and graphic designer based out of Vancouver, BC. He's a graduate of the renowned acting program at Studio 59 Langara College. He's appeared on television shows, films, and theater productions throughout his career and has gone to found the award-winning Speak Easy Theater Company and was producer of the Pool Festival, Vancouver's 10-minute play festival for over 5 years. He's published 2 books, The Pool Festival Anthology of Plays, Volume 1, and Rusalka, The Legend and the Legacy. He's also a founder and active member of the Art Left's creative group that offers content creation and design services to arts organizations across Canada. Markian is also a Rusalka alumnus who danced with Rusalka and participated in the tour to Ukraine in 2013. Recently, the two have expanded their love of Ukrainian dance and published together a book, Rusalka, The Legend and the Legacy. So please tell me a little bit about your experience with Ukrainian dance and what made you interested in Ukrainian dance in the first place.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. And I would have to go back to my early childhood when my parents took me to my first Ukrainian dance concert. I didn't know what to expect. I just followed along with my parents because that's where they wanted to be. And when the dancers appeared on stage and I heard the music and the costuming and the steps on stage, I knew right there and then that this is my passion. This fire started burning within me. I remember my brother was with me at the time. My sister hadn't been born yet. We came home and we started to do all the steps that the dancers were doing on stage. And I think this is how I got involved with my passion for the music. I think first was the music, and with the music, then the dance from there. So yeah, it was great. So I still remember that feeling till this day, and all the thoughts of what I wanted to do with Ukrainian dancing.
I mean, for me, the obvious answer is him, my parents. I think, you know, we come from a family of Ukrainian dancers at this point. You danced for what, 22 years in the Rusalka? So I think when I grew up and was about 5 years old when I started Ukrainian dancing, it was kind of like always destined to go to the Rusalka. That was always the plan. And, you know, I was lucky enough to get into the group when I was about 16 years old and had wonderful years. In the intro, mentioned that I went to Ukraine in 2013 with the group. And that's how I got involved. It was just, you know, something that my sister did, that my dad did, that pretty much our whole family did. And so I followed that path, and I loved every minute of it.
Have you ever danced together?
Yes. Yeah, we did. I mean, at the 2000, was it 2003?
Yes.
In the Stories
concert.
The 40th anniversary concert.
Yes, we danced together there.
Yeah. This is not including any bars or kolamekas at weddings, etc. Officially, yeah, at the 40th anniversary show, they did it was called a Generations Dance. So the concert opened with children of Rusalka Ukrainian dancers, either alumni or at the time. And so I remember we started out the show as the Pravit, basically. And then all the generations came together to dance. So you and I did splits together, I think. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
I was like 5 feet higher in the air than you were. So that's for the record.
Well,
What is your favorite Ukrainian dance?
well, my favorite is the
Yeah,
whole park.
I mean, I
The
think,
whole park.
I don't know, if you're a Ukrainian dancer and you don't answer the hopak, I don't know what your favorite dance would be. It's the best one out of a bunch of them. And I mean, it's also the one you practice for just in terms of your solo. So I think that's what, growing up in Ukrainian dance, it's kind of like finding your power a little bit. Your superpower is which Ukrainian dance solo are you going to try to perfect and perform. You always did splits. And then I think maybe it's the genes that we can jump in the air, but I think the biggest reason is seeing you do splits makes me want to do splits. And I think that happens in a lot of Ukrainian dance where you see your parents or your older sibling do a certain solo. That's the one you want to do because, you revere parents and older siblings. And so, yeah, and the crowd gets going in the hopak, right? Like that's the one that gets the standing ovations, gets the encore. So as a performer, it's the most fun to do.
I know that you have been touring a lot domestically and internationally. So do you have any interesting stories to share?
You went on way more trips than I did.
There are a number of highlights in tours that I was involved with in Rusalka. But some of the ones that really stand out in my mind was when we had the privilege of being able to travel to Ukraine in 1979, when it was still under communist rule. So our eyes and minds were very much exposed to what the situation in Ukraine was at that time. We learned a lot from that. But the fact that we did have an opportunity to meet our relatives for the first time was something that I'll never forget. And they were actually a part of the audience in one of our performances. I think it was in Ternopil. So dancing in front of them was probably the most nerve-wracking stage experience for me. I think in one of the dances, I practically forgot half the dance because I was so focused on the fact that they were out there in the audience. My Jido was there, and my mother's sisters. So that is something that remains with me all the time.
The one that turns, so the only trip that I've gone with Rusalka is internationally is the 2013 Ukraine trip, which happened right before the Maidan uprising in 2013. So we were there the month before. In September, then the protests started, which was pretty incredible to be there before that and feel like something was up. But anyway, we were in a smaller town doing a show, or a mid-sized city. And we were in an auditorium of about, I would say, like 2,000 people. And we had no idea, the venue had no idea how many people would show up to the show, because they don't really sell advance tickets in Ukraine. It's like, here's the show, you come when you come. And so it was empty while we were practicing. We'd be like, I don't know if anyone's going to come to like Rusalka in Canada. They're a group from all the way over the world. To these people, we don't know what we mean. Anyway, so the show starts, and we start the concert off with the Chervona Kalina, like the anthem, or what would you call it, the Ukrainian
anthem.
The Ukrainian anthem.
Second anthem.
The second anthem of Ukraine, and the curtains go up, and I was in that dance, luckily, and the curtains go up, and it's Chervona Kalina, da 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 da, and the entire place was full, like not a seat empty of 2,000 local Ukrainians, getting goosebumps thinking about it. And they all immediately, when the curtain went up, they stood up and put the, hands on the serce and were like singing with us as we did the dance. And it was just a really emotional experience that they revered this song. And I don't think they sat down for the entire dance. They stood and watched and like were, besides themselves of clapping. And I just remember that so vividly because it was just really, really powerful moment to share with Ukrainians from Canada who are sharing our culture with Ukrainians. And I think the emotional part about it is they see that the culture has lived on with the immigrants in Canada, and that's really, really important for them to know, and that we are keeping the culture alive, especially the generation that, took off in the 1890s and the various immigrant waves back in Canada. And then further from that, the last part of the story is we were doing Arkan, which comes at the later stage of the concert. And they were rushing us so badly through the songs because they didn't know how much time we needed to get through to the next song to do a change. And so we started Arkan, and I was in that dance, and I started the dance, and there's supposed to be about 8 guys coming on, and none of them were ready because they were in the dance before, and they were changing backstage, and the music starts, and I'm like going out with 2 guys. So there's 2 of us starting the dance, and we're looking at each other being like, how do we do that? We can't do the towers with 2 guys. And slowly as the dance started, more guys would come out and like join the dance as like they would be ready. So there's like all of a sudden you get all 8 eventually for the circle that we're doing. And then the people in the audience were so loving the show that in the middle of the dance, they sent up little girls with flowers. So we're in the middle of these dances and these girls are walking on stage with these bouquets of flowers and we don't know to keep dancing or to accept these flowers. So I think Simon had to go, Rusnak, a dancer, and had to go and like collect this flower and take it off stage while we're doing this dance. It was so bizarre, but the crowd was loving it. And, it wasn't, our cleanest dance performance, but, those are the stories that live on forever.
What motivated you to write the book about Rusalka?
Okay, another interesting question. But the idea evolved from actually a former dancer, alumnus of Rusalka, who ran an advertising agency, Walter Kulik, and he came up with a proposal to, for the 50th anniversary, should do a book about Rusalka. So he approached me and the committee that I was with at the time and proposed this idea. And we said, you know what, that would be a great project. Not knowing what was involved. So we didn't have the book ready for the 50th. So the book was in the making for at least 7-8 years. And if it hadn't been for Markian here, there would be no book. But Oseredok at the time was involved with the book. She was kind of researching stories to include in the book and so on, so that it wouldn't amount to just being a photo book, but there would be the history of the group in there, at least 50 plus years of history, personal stories, experiences, and so on, some of the ones that we touched upon. And unfortunately, she passed away tragically. And I was left with, what do I do now? Like, I was ready to give up the project. And Markian stepped in and said, I think we can do this. And I can do the creativity and the design in that. We'll get all the material that she had on her computer to try and piece the interviews and so on that she had conducted for the book. And so about 8 years later, the book was published in 2019. So a good 9 years or so before this project came to fruition, and we're very proud of it. I think it's a great souvenir for the dancers. Also, for people who follow Ukrainian dance in Canada, I think it would be a great book for them to purchase and read about Rusalka's impact on dance in Canada and around the world. So.
And I believe that this is a brilliant way to preserve this legacy, writing a book. The two men have been preserving the Rusalka's legacy in a different way, more traditional, little archival work.
I don't know.
So tell me a little bit about the materials that you're working with.
It's tons of material to go through, but I felt it was important to try and get all this material to the Ukrainian Cultural and Educational Center, because this is kind of, to me, a critical institution in the Canadian society. So we basically transferred everything we could from the UNF Hall on Main Street, which is like the second home to Rusalka dancers. So we transferred all the archives from their garderoba to Oseredok here. And then they sat here for a number of years, untouched. And then once that book project was done, I thought, well, okay, so the next project is to try and get these Rusalka archives organized. And I know that, this institution is under a tight budget, and I know they cherish volunteer work. So I thought, well, I've got some time on my hands. I'll roll up my sleeves and see what I can do. And now I find out the scope of this problem. But it's actually very rewarding for me, because I do feel that I'm doing important work, that this work isn't going to be a waste of time. So that's sort of what I feel I'm getting out of it. But there is fantastic material in there having to do with every aspect of Rusalka, right from tour experiences, to photographs, to audio visual, to financial records, board minutes, and so on, that to a researcher, I think it's a fantastic source of material to go into and really find out that there's much more to, excuse me, much more to the group than just the dance product on stage, that all the people behind the scenes involved in keeping this legacy alive is important.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your stories and your experiences. And all the best with Rusalka and continuing the legacy of Rusalka. And I believe that the future is there with new generations. My son has danced with Rusalka. Now he's with ballet, but he's planning to go back. So we will keep the legend living.
Thank you, Jaco.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa, for taking your time to conduct this interview. And I just wanted to say that we are donating one of the books to the library, to the Oseredok library. And upon Alexandra's instruction, she asked us to dedicate the book. So I just want to read the dedication, dated August the 5th, 2021, dedicated to the Ukrainian Cultural and Educational Center by members of the Rusalka Legend and Legacy Book Committee, who contributed to and made the publication of this book possible. And all of us signed the dedication. So we're very proud to be able to dedicate this beautiful book to the Oseredok Library. And also the second book I will archive for Rusalka as well. So yeah, so we're here to stay.
Available now at McNally Robinson.
And Oseredok Boutique. And the Oseredok
And the
Boutique.
Oseredok, yes. No, only at the Oseredok.
Yes, thank you so much on behalf of the Oseredok, thank you so much for your generous donation. And if anyone is interested to take a look at this brilliant book, come over to Oseredok. Thank you.